Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're going to be taking a look at SHINee's A.Mi.Go. This is a live performance, I believe, and hopefully I think this is around the time that this came out. I believe it's in 2008. October time, and so I'm pretty excited about this. Normally what I try to do, that I've been trying to do with this marathon, is take a look at the demo version if they do have one, and unfortunately for this one there is not a choreographer demo, but I do know the choreographer is Misha Gabriel, and I do know we are going to be seeing their work throughout a couple of their future works to me moving forward in the discography, so it's going to be really fun. This is a different choreographer, so I am expecting their movement quality to be slightly different, maybe some overlap of course with synchronicity and timing, and I know they're live, so it's going to be very different than just a dance practice. That's I know, and yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a watch. They're so young here. It gives that, I'm bringing sexy back. Like that Justin Timberlake, that kind of like, that kind of pop style. Do we have dancers for this? Yes, we do. Hey, goodness gracious. Like, they're barely recognizable for how young they are here. I swear to you. Goodness gracious. Okay, so this very end, here's the thing. Like, hold on. Yeah. Come on. Like, oh my gosh. Hold on. So, they're so young. Like, part of me was just about to gasp, and I was like, they look too young here for me to actually be able to recognize them very well. What, the close-ups are a little bit better. I feel like I have a better shot. This is Minho. My name is Minho. Yes, I've seen that. Yes, I've seen the SNL of SHINee, and that's honestly one of the first things I ever watched of theirs. So every time I see Minho, I just want to go, my name is Minho. Anyway, here we go from the top. They did a pretty freaking great job of this. Yes, the song does remind me of, oh, here we go with it. Oh, here we go with it. Like that kind of breakdown gives off that energy. Yes, I know that's Minho, and I did clock key pretty easily. It's Taemin, Jonghyun, and Olnu are a little tricky because everyone's got around that same hair color, and their fringe is kind of Justin Biebering, whatever way they see fit. The branch away, great performance from him. Boom, really nice to see. The nice bleed in, nice energy to pull out with the jumps. That's Jonghyun right there. There he is. Technically the first time I get to actually call them by their names because we all know that 720 hits pretty deep, and you cannot see their faces at all. So I love the energy of this, though. It's really fun to see. Yeah, that da-na-na, really nice. Yeah, right there through doom, 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 doom. So this is reading very different in terms of like that choreography realm. Definitely tailoring more Justin Timberlake for sure here. And that's probably what may have made me like subconsciously want to relate the song in that way too, because the movement progressions feel, they're clean. Like the sequences are definitely on the cleaner side. I don't see as much rock or bounce, or they're more in isolation. They're not like polyrhythmicized like we saw in the previous ones. With the kick throughs, it's still really nice. Very impressive to see them do this live, and I love the handheld mics. There we go. They're doing this live. Of course, the backtrack. I know that was key that we just saw. Now right there, that. Now I think that's a little baby Taemin, if I think, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, boom, da, da, da. So you see that we are seeing a little bit of that group, a little bit of legato in play here, but there's not as much other fullness taking place as that's happening. So it's just different. It's a different type of movement that we're exploring. But I always find that there's beauty to kind of grow within that, especially if the music calls for it. If you feel like it's going to make it the most effective approach, I don't see really that big of an issue with it. Hitting it through, boom, boom, once again, bringing that energy through and all the way down the body. And I love the personality and presence here. And because there's not even a huge difference between them doing it live and in dance practices, it's impressive. It is. Yep, and is that all new right here? I think so, yeah. There's Key. Oh, bless it. Key is so different nowadays. God, I love it. Yeah, building up the energy. Da, 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 da. Yep. Yeah, I think for me, though, this is more so just a personal note that I'll say. For me, my scope, like I've said, my favorite preferred type of movement quality or choreography is more on the artistic realm, or whenever we're going for, whenever you have like a pop track, to approaching it in a more abstract way in comparison to like your typical choreography. But that's because I come from a 2024 lens, and we have it in the sense of there is a huge oversaturation in the market for certain textures, movement qualities, and movement kind of references. And a lot of that does stem from the education structure of a lot of studios, especially over in the studios that are more open class based. They don't quite structure or kind of formulate their studio that encourages people to take fundamentals. It mostly just encourages people to learn under a choreographer's movement quality. And that's where a lot of times you get, it can seem a bit grotesque, but I call it choreography incest, meaning that we're not learning the fundamentals behind the choreography. We're just learning the choreographer's perspective of movement, but that's your background in comparison to a choreographer, like let's say myself. My background expands actively within heavy musicality training in the terms of I study music cognition, music psychology, actively, as well as with waving as my respective intimate community and culture I am actively a part of. I am a student of light feet, house, crump, popping, whacking, and animation, isolations, and so things like that. But the one that I do claim as culture is waving for myself. And so I feel that all that to say, for me, my preference is not 100% choreography. And what I mean by that is a choreography you typically see on tour. Not with K-pop groups. I'm talking about when you have artists and you have dancers perform behind them. And I'm speaking more about like the Justin Timberlakes or like dancers of that era. Not really Beyonce or Taylor Swift, but like Justin Timberlake, or you have Neo. Those types of realms. Like that type of pop artist is what my drift is, if that makes sense. I would say I would even put Usher in the same boat, Chris Brown in the same boat, stuff like that. Now, their stuff definitely has improved over the years. Not improved, but like definitely been refined, or choreography has expanded in movement quality. That for sure. But I would say this, when it comes to the saturation of the 2000s choreography, this is what it reminds me of. Is it my favorite? No. Do I think they're doing a good job keeping together and matching the type of track it is and most likely doing the choreography as it was intended? Yes, I think so. Switching it through, really nice to see that. Very subtle. Notice that kind of movement, I really feel like they would have shot out that leg a little bit more and drug it in a little bit more here. But here, because it's live, they're making some small, subtle, but effective concessions to make sure they do the choreography well and as intended, but maybe not as full, just so they can make sure that their voice is sustained and stable. And I love that. Yeah, that was cool. Bringing in the foot, and the foot triggers the body to drop down. That was a fun choice. I think another thing I've noticed with this one is we are kind of keeping on the mid. We're doing movement, but we're not really using a ton of levels. That's honestly one of the first times we're seeing that here. We did see more levels, or at least using the hinge of the body in their first two, Love Like Oxygen and Replay, where we really got to see that showcase. But here, I think we're keeping it more, it feels more like we're learning a combo and we're switching places, not really using levels or making it feel like we're considering ourselves as a group, if that kind of makes sense. Yep, and having the dancers add in, boom, da, da. It is nice to see that energy, and having SHINee in the middle in their V, having your dancers on the side right here. It does feel like we were, I don't know, I wouldn't say we were going for a RoboCop, because a RoboCop, it definitely kind of has more of an isolated intention behind it. For me, it just kind of felt like two digs over on one side. But I do like it, but it does feel, you know, our dancers coming in. The only thing that separates SHINee from the dancers is their outfits. And for me, I always would want to look at a formation and be able to see more than just costume that separates, when you want to have a natural level of separation. Not saying that dancers and SHINee are in different classes. No, it's more so like we want to, just like when I talk about when you want to have a feature, I shouldn't have to rely upon who's actively singing to know who my feature is. A context of everybody else and how they're moving, to where if no one opened their mouth at all, I'd still be able to know who my feature was in that moment, you know. Because as somebody in a studio dance background, when we do 1 point features, no one's singing. So we have to figure out how to do that anyway and make that clear. Yep. Once again, it does feel very kind of plateau on the formation side. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I just had a freaking click moment. So you guys remember I was talking about ATEEZ, and there's a particular era of ATEEZ's choreography that read similarly to this, and it was with Anjay. So fun fact with Anjay, he's done background work for artists like Chris Brown and individuals like that. And remember, I just cited my source with that. There's a really good chance that some of the things that kind of made me, because this 2019 era, they kind of made me, not turned off, but maybe like just more, not as satisfied, and because of the era that we were in. Because remember, 2019, that the tail, like 4th gen kind of energy that's happening in that 2019 and on, dance is more of the forefront, and here in this era not so much, because you can tell based on the type of choreographic index this is, and what was going on during that time in the Western pop scene too. That's probably some overlap that I'm just correlating right now. Like if ATEEZ did their era of Wave and Say My Name and all of that in 2010, very different conversation, I think. But because it was in 2019, it tailored, and it kind of hits the same thing as if SHINee did this in 2019. I would kind of say the same thing. I would say you have to be mindful of the era and what the trends are, but also I don't find it, just personally, I don't find it appropriate to just say, oh, it's from the era and we kind of just gloss over it. No, I still wish there were more levels. I'm saying that I'm making a correlation between what was a bit of what I was taken aback by the lack of formations and dynamics and choices with ATEEZ's choreography through the earlier eras, is because it was showcasing similarly to this. And look, this is 2008. Do you know what I mean? So the type of format and structure it was dated, where I felt like we're at a place where we understand and we've learned so much creatively as choreographers, as movement directors, as people with media, and how to shoot these types of choreographies and the trends of the music and things like that, and the beauty and the art of dance, and putting that as a forefront of an artistic expression. I feel like we can make more creative concessions. It kind of felt like we took a step backwards. And I did say that about ATEEZ's Say My Name specifically. It felt like comparison to Pirate King and to Say My Name, it was a bit of a step back in terms of other fundamentals, not just content. And even there, I was talking about the virality and how some of the viral moves were a little bit too viral in context. They didn't feel innovated enough or twisted enough to a certain degree to make it feel like it meshed well with the track, if that makes sense. So going back to here, that was a very interesting note I just popped into my head. So if you're somebody who's a fan of ATEEZ or you've seen those videos that I've done analysis wise, I just made that correlation, and I feel like I just unlocked a layer of my own understanding as to the type of content or context. That's weird. That's cool. Mo, it's so interesting. So interesting. It was literally like a month later that I caught that. Crazy. Anyway, but yeah, I love having the individual dun dun dun. That was nice. It was needed, I think, for that moment. Because when you look once again, we're still not, I mean, our dancers have switched and they kind of had their own moments. We have two dancers facing the back. We have SHINee coming in. But once again, we haven't really dropped to the ground at all. And we're about a minute 34 in. We haven't done any floor work. We haven't done any accents even past the crouching phase. And that's something that for us, regardless of how complex or captivating your movement is, if you're not using other aspects like levels or dynamics or formation changes that are outside of just switching lines, that it is going to come across pretty stagnant. Just like whenever you watch regular videos, at a certain point, you become oversaturated or you become used to a format. Does that make sense? And there's a chance, I mean, unfortunately, that means that I would be put in that line of fire too, where some people may get so used to my particular videos that they may not watch them anymore because they're like, oh, I know what she's going to say, and you just kind of disregard, which to each their own. I mean, I respect anybody who takes the time to even watch to begin with. It means a lot. The fact that you're hearing me right now, it means a lot, and I always appreciate that. But it just goes back to our attention span, especially in more recent days, is very short. And so sometimes we have to modify movement to make it more captivating longer. And those are things that help to aid us. And it can also help create more breathable moments for your artists as well. And so that's just my general note. Something that I'm happy we've seen progress in is we've branched away from this in the K-pop scene as much. And we're using more levels, more choices. Like that's our first level we had, and our dancers did it and not SHINee. Now, is that going to cause more effort for them to go low and high? Yes. And then look at this effort. Like you see, just that's what I call sweat. I call it effort. Look at that effort. Gosh, just live vocals were this is so captivating. I love it. Little dance break moment. Definitely, of course, it does feel a bit disconnected, but I do know that's the intention of the choreography, and it does set them up for success on this singability side. I understand all that. Now, I love that tinge and that pull-in that does feel like a really nice overlap from some things that we've seen them do in other work that we've appreciated. Love that, having a nice little moment. Love that. Yeah, I feel like that's Taemin, right? Yeah, bringing it through. I love that. Gosh, let me tell you, I am excited to see Taemin as a soloist. I have not really, I think I've only seen A Course. And you know A Course I'm talking about. It's the Move choreography. It's the only choreo I've ever seen of Taemin specifically. I haven't seen any of his other stuff. It's gonna be so good. Guys, it's gonna be so good. Yep. Yeah, bringing it through. Yeah. And I'll also say this as a secondary note, you do notice that for me, I've really had to talk more so about that formation or just talk about, you know, the lack of using of levels. And I think part of that too is even for me as somebody who's really looking at the movement side and just its primary context of like what the movement is, it's still really hard for me to see it match that music as well, because there's not other things to help create more digestibility with it besides just presentation of content. And that's something that within the choreography scene that I've just noticed from my own limited experience with something that I was not a personal admirer of, but I can admire it for the era that it is. So you just keep that in mind. I think it's important that we had it, but also I think it's really great to know that we are no longer stuck in these ways, so we've kind of elaborated off of it. Yeah. Yep. Singability, love it. I love the fact that they're singing this live and it is stable too. Yeah, bringing it through, notice that da-da-da. You know, it was nice to have that little oopsie-daisy kind of moment there. That was nice having your center showcase, of course, boom. Love it. Of course, we're now down in the corners. Our dancers are definitely more on the accessory side of this choreo. They're there to create numbers. I don't think they're helping aid create moments, if that makes sense. Yep, once again, kicking it through. Yep, the era of the skinny jeans too, baby. Yep, and they finish. So in general, is this my favorite? I know it's not going to be my least favorite. I kind of feel that way, but I know it's definitely out of the 3 that I've watched, including this one. I still think replay is my favorite out of the 3 right now. And of course, by the time I get to the tail end of all this, I may do like a top 5 favorite SHINee choreos for different reasons. But a lot of times I wait until the music video marathon to really make those calls, because I really like seeing full picture of things, including the music videos with it. But for this, they held it down. They were very clean. They definitely were very stable. I think Gen 2 has, I know a lot of people call it the golden era. I'm going to refrain from calling it anything because I understand the nostalgic value of it for myself. So it's already going to have that level of subjectiveness for me when I give it any type of title. But something I have noticed based on my limited analysis of Gen 2 choreography with the live performances, and I'm not talking about me as a fan, me as in this position doing just reacts, is the amount of stability in the live vocals. That's something that I'm very much appreciative of, because it makes the dancing, you view it more graciously, because you understand that they're holding it down so well vocally that I understand the role dance was in Gen 2 compared to the other gens, and I think that's another thing too when it comes to analyzing these. That's the kind of intention in the back of my head that I have. So, but in general, I think this was pretty decent. I think they did a great job considering it was a different choreographer too. They held it down and they still felt like SHINee, which was great. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. If you want to see more SHINee and you notice I don't quite have a ton of it outside of, let's say, 7 to 10 that I have on YouTube, I have all of it on Patreon. I'm actively at this point in time taking a look at SHINee and their entire discography from 2008 until early 2024. So that is a lot of content. At this point in time, I think I clocked 60 different dance analysis that I will be embarking on this month, which is a lot, but also I'm pretty excited about it because I feel like I get to kind of have that expedited journey of seeing their growth, the highs and the lows that come with this group specifically, and I get to kind of refine my Gen 2 fan heart a little bit too, and get to appreciate this in a slightly different way, because as somebody who was a really heavy, really big fan of the Gen 2 era, specifically more of the YG artists, it's really nice to look at SHINee in this context, because like I have mentioned in previous episodes, videos, I had not really looked at their choreography as much as maybe a couple of, variety shows or just things that would happen at Mama or award shows. So I'm very excited to see them in this context, in this way, because I know that the growth that I'm going to see from them is going to be so beautiful, and I already think they're doing a pretty good job now, so I can't wait to see what it looks like in more recent time SHINee. Once again, I'm Jess. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I will catch you on the flip side. Bye!